they're all bees. That's what I saw. All of them. The queen bee on her throne was talking to Errol, the drone, but the favourite drone, and God, they were quite sinister, and they were in their cells. There was one, the leader, in his cell, and he rolled a parchment over round and round, and in came his captain of the guards, a bee, a very auspicious bee in regalia, to be sure, but as I looked back, as my camera eye drew back, and I saw the whole castle, the whole hive, there were levels and cells. Yes, of course, thousands. And there, down there on the lower southwestern side, was the captain of the guard and the leader of the political bees. He looked evil, talking and looking at the scroll, and on the other side was, in the northeast part, was Errol, a much more pleasant looking bee in the hive, a leader, of course. And I knew that the queen bee in the centre, at the top, in the middle, at the top level, she was sitting in front of a mirror, on her throne, in her regalia. She looked magnificent. She was the queen bee. Of course. And she smiled. Silently. Ever so slightly. As if to say she knew. The chess game was a game, and what kept it going, what kept it together, was the sexuality that Errol, the bee, the Don Juan bee, wanted in women, and the queen bee knew. But that gallant galvanization is what made the whole hive go round. For the upper echelon that was gentlemanly bees. Earth is a large radiator. Radiation. Cooking. The heat. Fire's going to get worse, higher. Slaves are working till the end. She said she cut his throat. The Queen suppressed the truth. Those behind her. Who? Queen Elizabeth I. Oral intercourse. Illegal. Today? In Freeland. She's directed it from the 16th century. Or 15th. She was a man. Conspiracy. Theory. Prisoner? Not guilty. Judge? It's retrospective, old boy, I'm afraid. Judge of Freeland pontificates. Guilty. Section 51. Everyone has the measurements. One has the measurements. Queen Elizabeth directs the statute. At least her cabinet does, way back, and puppeteers her, directs her, and she, a virgin queen. The private lives of Elizabeth and Essex stars. Imagine her as I'd seen her. I do now. The tide swelled. Her figure, front on. There's the mansion, her soul, a house, side on, Looking at it now, the sphere. The sphere. Bay, the map, there it is. Place it over on there. That's it, and you can see the mansion, the fissure, the finger, the cliff, the map. It's all depicted in this sacred geometry of Elizabeth's privateers and pirates era. Of course, the Spanish Main, the Caribbean. Peppered there. Roll it back, roll it across. You can see it, the map, the oral evidence hidden in there. It's the memory, the chip. Chefs are notorious. They prepared dinner. Liz. Elizabeth. Lisp couldn't let me say it. Blocking me again. Dyslexia. XY wires crossed over. No, they were fizzing and making it happen. Me see it again. Tape rolled round, the wheels were pure now, and round they went, and out came the information. From her mouth, her face, her head. Ah, yes, she told me. The poison was a mixture. Even deadly. That was it. Choked me. Said she cut my throat, but now I could breathe and see. The devil in between, the deep blue sea I'd been, and now I was being released and shown the era, what had happened. I'd been washed up on the Isle of Wight at Ventnor that spring after the Mary Rose had gone down and the reefs, and I'd seen my goggles going down, glug, 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 and watched the oral. A grave digger I was, digging up my own corpse. An engraving was on the front. I was shoveling an engraving of a woman. I kept digging. I was opening, examining the corpse. My own corpse. I was a detective from another era. Had amnesia, forgotten. Was digging up the pilot. Box opened and out came the pictures. Louise. He's a perfect product. Car crash. He doesn't remember. No. A police reception room. I saw him. A burly sergeant. There. Behind a large records book. Counting. He said, "Evening, Super. When are you going to complete these? Bringing them all in." Bodies. Between them. He held them up. Blacked out. I married a witch. The map. I found her. white hair. Woman hermaphrodite, she said. Telling you the truth. Breathing hard. Telling you. She referred to her mind. X and Y. Hermaphrodite. Princess. Gave birth. Writing it all down, I am. I'm recording it. Remembering the day. I could see a way to access the mansion. Means by which I could take over authority and usurp the secret of Magdalene. Her mother's jewelry was worth millions. It was... I'm making my dying declaration. Breathing hard now. Using my arm to move fingers. The end of my hand, the tips, to record the brooch, lay at its centre, and I made the exploration, the journey, and came back. All I had to do was open the safe. I believe that it was in the centre. The DNA, the code, the geometry was sacred. It was buried deep in the solar plexus of her body. Surgeon was at that time would reveal. That's why, as I breathe, I must make my dying declaration now. The discovery. He who finds this diary will know what happened to me. It all started out when I was searching for the bequest, the legacy. I knew it went to Anastasia. XYZ. The letters took on the black form before me, on the skull of a label, a bottle of poison. That I see before me. I see it now. She was in these stages of pregnancy that were advanced. I can quite remember it now, but as I try, the clouds, the dark clouds of the day that turned into night overtake my mind. Overtake my mind. Overtake my mind. Overtake my mind. My mind. A clock. The hands tick off the moments of my breath as I die. Second of June, 2015. The twisted sister she was. The innocence. All alive. A requiem for the dead. I said, at the time, mine, Suzanne, an angel. I'm giving witness now as I suffered from this dyslexia, this crossed over mind. I thought I was dying, but I've revived. Seemed to have been comatose for 2nd of July. It's on the clock, I can see it now, the time the hands have clicked off. My death. I've been in time for 1 month. I remember it now. The twisted sister. She is my sister. The devil. Number 13. Blasted her hand before me as I died and reached out, and her clenched fist hit me in the face with a fist. Teeth clattered and the skull appeared the entrance. Heaven was written over its crest. Hell, a triangle, a pyramid. I opened to the Isle of Nance. Where? The Isle of Nance. Boats transported by boat. Area. Perfect product I was. I was made. I married a witch. Yes, a Marquess of Princess. Princess. XYZ. A letters. Etched on a bottle. A forehead. I saw. I remember specks of the dress she wore. I remember a poem. I can find it, I can see it now. It's behind these notes, this folder, these files that I, a doctor, compiled. Here it is. It's 4. Number 4. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. And everywhere that Mary went, the fleece was sure to go. The fleece, the golden fleece, I was sure, in the code. And on this night, it said, the poem said, the lamb was sure to show the land of El Dorado. I would know. By electrons, dematerialized, The stream. Was I to follow? The key was in the rhythm. The signature tune. It was. It's as if I swallowed the message, held it in my throat, concealed it in my voice box, and I would press a finger on a button. A voice box, as if I stood before me, my back to the surface of a mirror, and extended my hand, and the fingertip pressed on my voice box as I upheld my throat, and the voice box opened and bled. A musical symphony. Like my breathing. But there was a note in the files. More. The word said love. I could see it under there. Making love. Marie. That's the name. That's who it was. Marie. Yes. The hermaphrodite. On her fingers she had the ring. She extended it forward towards me. A bequest. A revolver barrel. It was as if time crossed over, and she was of another era, and the revolver barrel inserted itself from another era, and in me, in my brain, in my head, the two fitted in perfectly and exploded. The iron mask. She stared at me. The woman in the iron mask. Her eyes damning me. The devil she was. The Queen of Spades. Number 13. Second of July, 2013. Her picture was before me. Her face. Yet I read. My eyes read, looking at it. The words, in memory of the Twisted Sister, by... My name was on a tombstone. Yes. The Twisted Sister. That night as she lay upon her bed, I could feel what she was feeling. I felt it, as if I were there. She felt quite contented, I remember, and drowsily listened to the sprinkling movement of the stream, the patter of the stream outside the window that she could hear, the singing, the music, the notes, the lyrics she could hear as they made their way down the corridors and ladders and veins of the brain of the terrain of my mind and hers. Another dimension. Events. Gathering. Forming. I shouldn't have feared. I shouldn't have been afraid. It was beautiful. It was a glorious aura. The most magnificent face I had ever seen. I couldn't explain. It was illuminated beyond the aeons of time and mind. Energy pulsated. Absolutely. The aura. An orchestral musical instrument. Head mansion, I called. Living and centered in the heart of the body of the woman whom I saw. You didn't recognize her? It's the legend that I heard of the lost treasure. It was told to me. It was based on fact. It was based on uranium. A treasure. The mining. It was ours. Father's. He left it to me. I had the strange feeling that he was probably lying under it, charging the vein, alive right now, messaging it to me. The bequest. I kept hearing the words. The double helix. The film reel. That's what it was. I looked at the wall. She was where? The wall opened. There was the cast. Davina. She said, cynically, in a voice that was low and bass, and therefore I can recount and recall, "Where to? I've decided to do it." She glanced at Davina. That was Evelyn. She glanced at Davina quietly and said, "Davina's decided to do the transfer." Davina looked away. Mother. It was the mother. That's who was speaking. Suddenly she said, "I don't wish to. I've been happy living here all these years." She walked as if she strutted a stage. Geoffrey was there. Exasperated, he said, "Mother! You've been berating me for years, saying how we're ungrateful." Smiling a little to herself, Mother said, "I realised my potential through you." Looking to both, she said, "My ambitions." She paused quickly. "I could have been an international model, but the convener wanted me to sleep with him and I refused." She seemed to have trouble sputtering and spitting out the words. She continued, "I stayed for you." Looking at Geoffrey, she said this, but Davina said, "But the burden you placed on me has been too much." Mother said, "I wanted security." Davina said, "Money, and I wanted ideals." She, the mother, looked to Geoffrey. She looked at him fiercely. He looked away. With her voice trembling, Mother said, "I've sacrificed. I'm bound here by my responsibilities and consequences of them that I didn't shirk towards you. But Mother," Davina said, "I've got to go, no matter what I do one day, forever." There was a long pause. Davina and Mother held each other's gaze. Finally, quietly, looking away, Mother said, "I know." She exited. There was a long pause. The other two stood in silence. I watched on the instrument. Finally, Davina said with suppressed passion to Geoffrey, "You keep running around the place trying to compete, making money in a way you think Mother wants you to do. And I think I'll take my clothes off when I come back to you and tell you all." She seemed to be mocking him with this very strange statement that confused me and took me aback. I thought it was very Freudian, but I looked at her and she seemed frozen on the screen. I stared at her. Her eyes were wide open. "Take my clothes off when I come back to you?" She spoke like a child, as if they were girl and boy. She looked at him. Her face seemed askance, stretched, as if wrought and worn, as if Cézanne pictured a painting of a wrought iron gate in an old chateau, or surrealism was portrayed and depicted and projected up onto a screen, a television, and you saw prickly pears and a path going into it and locked iron gates at the entrance, and there you would have a surrealistic, strange, warped face of an old mansion in, say, the late 19th century, and there she would be with her peaked cap like a witch or a fortune teller at two peaks or either peak, and you would have a strange picture of her face, what she looked like when she said these ridiculous, peculiar, childlike words. She went on suddenly. The freeze frame dissolved, and I saw her face move, and her lips, and her mouth regenerated like pistons moving up and down inside a ship like the Mary Dear that was stranded on the rocks, and everyone drowned. It seemed to just... Oh, her teeth, they were chafing and speaking at the bit. I looked at her and she was a mask stretched. A mad woman. Or was it me? I, projecting something, a slide, as if, inside at the back of my head, onto the screen. X, in front of me. XYZ, the ray I'd invented and looked into the past and saw all these events. And there, I saw 1958. I was witnessing it now. Davina French. That's who she was. And Evelyn, the mother, and Geoffrey Pringle, the swindler. I knew as the past entered and came out of the ooze at the back of my head, where it seemed to have been concealed and stored for centuries, all these years, and vomited in front of me as if it spilled out on the bench. And I moved my claws, my hands in through the vomit and muck, and tried to rearrange the bits of sludge and find a number like Scrabble and put letters together and see the words to match a film, a script, and put them up on a screen where I could, like the building blocks in Scrabble, arrange them and match. And there, watched Davina on the screen, and the the words of the vomit, and I know the past. I know what was there. I swallowed. As I told you in the beginning, I was dying. I died, I'm sure. For I saw these different levels, these space-times. Yes, Einstein's well known, of course, but I tell you, I experienced it. In front of me was the homestead, Fairholme. I think it was called. It was out in the middle of nowhere, in the plains above the city. There, down there. I thought I saw Birmingham. Or was it Montgomery? I wasn't sure. But it crossed over with Prince's, the turrets, the hotel, and they seemed to resemble the Twin Peaks that I saw at either end of the surrealistic painting that I'd projected up on the screen and drawn of Davina in her scrawl. Her shawl. Over now she leant, a shawl, a knitted shawl around her shoulders, as if she was Madame Defarge, that bitch in history that was the most revolting slut in history. And I revered Miss Pross for shooting her with a musket. But why was I seeing Davina as if she was she? This bitch of the guillotine who watched the Queen removed from her head and severed in front of her the chairs. Slowly I saw the pictures of the frame move and the vomit in front of me that was mixing with the palms of my hands on my bench as I worked with the chemicals and XYZ and the industrial plant. The lab at Pringle's industrialist plant where they'd made their money in Brisbane. It was outside Brisbane, I think, at Toowoomba. My memory was coming back and telling me there were other branches of the family. They went up like a family tree and branches spread out round. There was the American branch in Louisiana and New York and the other in England. It spread to the southeast coast. Of course. And the French and Spanish and... I remember now. It traced right back to the southeast section of Europe and the Greek. Down to the settlement I saw. That was it. All this was stored and coming forward. And in front of me I saw Evelyn. Mother? She walked up and down and strutted, as if she was here before me in the lounge. Solid. Davina as well. Davina French and Geoffrey. The family, the Pringles, right in front of me, strutting up and down like Lady Macbeth. Out damn spot. Playing chess. I haven't the confidence to be a husband. I heard Geoffrey say as I watched them. On the screen was removed now, and they were right in front of me. In fact, I was with them. I was in their movie, their film. "Hello, Geoffrey," I said. "Oh, boy." Had a strange accent for a Louisiana American, but then his ancestry was French or Scottish. They were Pringles. "Hello, old toffee," he said. Didn't remember my name as old toffee. I knew I must be going grey. God, the cigar I'd lit had gone out. Stubbed it and stubbed my finger. Burnt it. That was why I knew I was alive. I could felt it, but then I was in another area. Yes, there I saw the Prince's turret as well. Yes, it was there, as if coming into time. I was in the same place. I hadn't moved at all. I could see the time was now as well. Now, 3rd of July 2015, but merged into it and overlapping it and into it and with it was 1958 and 1895. Ticking. 6, 7, 8. Princes. Everything was joined. There were doors that went from the old chateau into their home, the 1958 homestead. And I stood in my own lounge, in my own house, a compartment of them, part of them, a level. We were all joined up in one house, one chateau, one mansion, and the time in which they existed, 1958 and 1898, and my time was all joined and sustaining itself in their time and mine. I looked at their costumes. Of course, Louisiana. There was Evelyn. She was wearing the clothes of course, the 1950s. A negligee. And in Princes I could see, I could hear. Ladies in waiting. Another era was coming into view. Versailles. And the times were all theirs and mine in one. All time is now, John Buchan had said. All time is now. The breathing's getting more difficult now. I have to write this down before I forget it, before it's too late. I heard the strangest, funniest words. Chain of mail you wear. I was in the position of thinking that all these different eras that were coming in, I saw the night. Chain of mail you wear. My God, it was like the Crusades. 1215. Earlier. The area in Accra. Oh, I can see it now. It brings tears to my eyes. I don't know why. It's as if there's a source of this hemorrhage of blood and tears that's been in me since the beginning of time. And I need to repair. And it's been bleeding, coming out. All my lives. Something went wrong in my time. Accra. it as sure as I'm looking at the back of my hand and turning this diary, seeing the words that I know I've written previously and crumbled across. Blackout's decayed. I can see it now, scrolling down on the wall in front of me as my veins and my broken skull decays in front of my eyes. It's as if there's been an illusion in front of me all my lives, and it's dissolving, and I can see information. It's in front of me, trickling and mirroring from the back of my head. I'm sure the cortex stored all the information from the beginning of time and is projecting in front of me, and I'm seeing it reflecting back from the mirror in front of me. It says it's about to consummate our union in a celebration of the succession. Accra, the night, the sword gleaming. I can see it now, coming down. There seems to be a fast forward to... Yes, the woman. Marie. I called her the Countess de Winter. The memory coming back. My eyes. The hermaphrodite. Countess de Winter. What was her name? What was her name? My God. Like a sword, a broadsword, unsheathed. Flattened me. Yes, he didn't recognize her. Was about to consummate our union in a celebration in the bedroom. The succession would succeed. Inhibited, I was garroted, throttled. Madame de Winter. Madame Defarge. These doubles all ranged before me in a line. A reel of film, joined, spliced together frames, all the same. Like a Venetian blind, instantaneously unravelling, I saw before me my mind, the slides, vertical, horizontal levels formed a triangle, my mummied sergeant head, swamp map, the three women, the ladder rose up. Rise from the bottom, the voice said. Text. I scrambled up the ladder. The turret was in front of me. Up to the triangle, the peak. There inside the damsel, the voice. I'd heard her in the 15th, 16th century. She was rushing around. An angel. Angela. An angel, I called her. Before the dyslexic destroyed my ability to communicate and crossed over the wires in my mind, X, Y, Z, and strangled me in a hole and drowned me, and I drowned. Ophelia I saw in the mirror gurgling down. Lifeboat, lifebuoy. Yes, Lady of the Lake strode to me. Lifebuoy. Baby rose up, gurgling. Vomited out. Now. All time is now. The time is now. I look round my room and I see there's the pictures. The Egyptian, the Greek woman, the gypsy, the ornament. Of course, the altar. The church altar before me. The shadow. Fuck these patients, she said. Saw her round on me, Liz Fraser. That's who I called her, Liz. The code. I was watching her in a bikini. She came round the circle and swallowed. Yes, like a swan. The message, the insignia came to me. It was a ancient code. Of course, a dactyl reference from Accra. That's what it was. The code was Eastern Mediterranean. And it had sliced into me and sinked. It had sinked into me when she had swan dived forward. I saw her now. That's what it was. I'd had a blackout. It had blackouted me and into this shadow. Snap like that. The time zones had changed. I'd been ripe, ready, vulnerable. Entered the tunnel. Alice in Wonderland. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. Christopher Robin went down to Alice. And here I was back again. Alicia de Winter. I recognised her. The Countess de Winter. From history. Notorious. It was the era of Richelieu. My dyslexia was playing up again. Couldn't get my words round my tongue. Or the other way round. Because that's what it did, you see. It reversed everything and crossed it over. Alicia de Winter was in hell. I was watching Dante's Circles, a version, and she was there crying out, "Mama!" She'd been executed on the block by, was it Porthos? Can't remember which one now, but I'm doing my best to speak into this microphone. It's connected with her. She's given me a voice, and her voice is speaking through me. That's why the dyslexia's there. She's in hell. And she can't converse. She's sending code. She's sending Morse. I'm being used as a conduit. Yes, to get her message across. Alicia de Winter. It's very Freudian, I heard Davina say. No, it isn't. It's Jung. Carl Jung wrote about this, but was not sure that he went far enough. Maria Franz, she wrote of the murder of the muse, the anima in the body, is gagged and crucified and garroted and executed and guillotined. Yes, the head is decapitated, and substituted is a conditional, narrow little stereotype that goes from education at birth to about 23 if you're lucky. Yeah, drinking, yeah, pissed, drugs, shopping, clothes, swimming pool, job, career, category, name, label, defines life. Yet I, the surgeon, in the dark, in my surgery here, was hearing them. And I said before, the very area had become all their areas. But I was not in their area, even though I was in their movie, their time. I was in now. And so were they, and I was in them, as it were. I heard Geoffrey say, 1958, scroll down. Geoffrey, to Davina. You're right. I haven't the confidence to be a husband. I saw him look at her. Davina said, that's your weakness. Mother's got plenty. Why do you need to feel guilty? She's always had the inheritance. Why do you need to feel bad? Geoffrey said, hero. He said it nonchalantly. I need to feel a hero. It's the same as yours, Davina. Heroine for Dad. Suddenly Davina said, on somebody on whom it's transferred. It's still real. Yes, said Geoffrey. But you need to disengage yourself, Davina said. Touché, Geoffrey said. He backed away and looked at her. I saw the mirror behind them. It was of pyramid shape, and it was moving, shaping. It was even wobbling. I saw the bare shoulders of... God, it was Alicia de Winter, looking in from the corridor in the other dimension, in the shadow in the other room that was joined up by a corridor to her.